I think there's been some reluctance on the part of the Indian foreign policy establishment to be seen as playing the US's game, to put it very bluntly. The feeling being that we have our own independent challenges in our relationship with China. Do we need to complicate them by being seen in Beijing as a surrogate of Washington? And I think this is one of the things that has been jeopardized in the rocky 9 or 10 months of the relationship we have endured between Washington and New Delhi, is it has reinforced the hands of those who are skeptical about the merits of India falling into a US policy design vis-a-vis China. So in many ways, Washington has got to be aware of the complications here. I mentioned technology because we saw this very interesting sort of sidestepping dance when America announced a new alliance, Pax-Silica, that is obviously intended to be an alternative supply chain to China on high technology items, including rare earths and so on, and then left India out of it at that time. Some months later, about 3 months after the initial announcement, America has sort of moved back a bit and invited India to join it, which wasn't there at the beginning, and India has now joined it 2 days ago. So there's sort of evidence on both sides of the ledger. But I would have always thought that, for example, in something like developing an alternative set of AI and technology models to what's available coming out of China, that the US would have seen India as a national partner, as a natural partner. And yet when Pax-Silica was devised, India wasn't there. Is there sort of confused thinking about India in all of these contexts in Washington? Or is there no thinking at all?
Well, let me just start by saying that, as I emphasized in my previous set of comments, I think the United States and China have a particular set of interests of their own which they should pursue. I do believe that countries should focus primarily on what is in their national interest, and that applies to India as well. And I think that India should go to great lengths not to become too dependent on the United States, either economically or militarily. And I believe that most Indians understand that. That was certainly the case during the Cold War, as I emphasized early on. It was in India's national interest to be non-aligned, to not get too close to the United States, even if it angered the United States. The problem that India faces today is that it has powerful incentives to have close relations with the United States, both economically, as you allude to, and both strategically, as I said in my opening comments. And I believe that up until the summer of last year, the Indians believed that they were going to have a close and positive relationship with the United States. But then the tariffs were placed on India. Trump made a number of comments that were deeply antagonistic to the Indian people, and we are where we are today. But what this tells you is that India is in a situation where it has sort of a schizophrenic attitude towards the United States. It understands that from a technological or economic point of view, and from a strategic point of view, it has powerful incentives to have close relations with the United States. But at the same time, given what's happened over the past year, it has powerful incentives not to get too close to the United States. So my advice to India would be to try to walk a fine line, not get too close, but understand that you do have incentives to have good relations with the United States.
Well.